Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock on my phone. Let me know when you guys are ready.
Recording in progress.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. September 22nd, we'll kick off the Washoe County District Board of Health meeting. With that, can I please have roll call?
Chair Delgado,
Here.
Vice Chair Lucy,
Here.
Mike Brown, Christopher Dare,
Here.
Dr. Dinko, she's absent. Dr. Novak, Dr. Clacking,
How are you?
Dr. Clacking, so Dr. Clacking and Dr. Denko are absent.
Okay.
Chair, we have a quorum, and I'm your recording secretary.
Can you guys hear me?
It sounds like Dr.
Okay.
Danko's with us.
Hey, I am on the phone. This is Rika Danko.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. We'll move on to item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Lucy, can you please lead us in the pledge?
My pleasure. Thank you, sir. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, sir. Can I please have a motion on approval of the agenda, on item 3? A motion? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to, Councilman Dare. Motion second, all in favor, aye. All approved. Moving on to item 4, recognitions. District Health Officer.
Yes, thank you, Chair Delgado. I'd like to begin with years of service, and we have Judy Medved Gonzalez to recognize. I don't believe Judy's able to join us today, but she's a public health nurse too, with 25 years of service with the health district. And I believe that we may be seeing her soon, because once people hit that 25 years, retirements sometimes follow. I also would like to recognize a number of new hires, and I'd like to begin with the new hires that are with Community and Clinical Health Services, so that Ms. Lotritz has an opportunity to introduce them. And we have Melissa Schaefer, who is an office support specialist, and Andrea Clarke, also an office support specialist, and Dawn Edwards, who is an administrative assistant too. So I'll hand it over to Ms. Lotritz.
How about now? Yeah, okay. Hi, Lisa Lotritz, Division Director for Community and Clinical Health Services. And I'd like to introduce our 3 new staff members. I'll start with Melissa Schaefer in the middle there. Melissa started on August 29th as an office support specialist, and she's splitting her time between WIC and chronic disease injury prevention. And Melissa has a background in marketing communication and has worked with educational and environmental nonprofit organizations prior to joining the health district. And next, Andrea Clarke on the end. Andrea is our new office support specialist. She will be supporting clerical and our immunization team. Prior to coming here, Andrea was the executive assistant to the vice provost for faculty affairs and the vice provost for undergraduate education at UNR. And then last but not least, Dawn Edwards. She is our new administrative assistant. Dawn comes to us from the Public Administrator's Office, where she was a public admin specialist. She was responsible for researching the paper trail of deceased persons in Washoe County. Prior to the PA's office, Dawn was at HSA CPS as on the court liaison team, where she was the go-between between the caseworkers and the court. So we're very happy to have them on board with us. Thank you.
Thank you. And stick around because we'll be doing some pictures at the end of this item. We also have Brenda Pierre, Office Assistant 2, and I believe that Dr. Dow is participating via Zoom today, so I don't know. Brenda, if you could stand up, and Dr. Dow, if you could do an introduction for us.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon. I would like to introduce Brenda, who has joined us on September this month, and then she is splitting her time between our epidemiology group and with our vital statistic group. Brenda comes to us in a very opportune time where we are needing our staff to support a lot of data entry issues and with our vital statistic needs for the community. Welcome, Brenda, and so happy to have you here.
All right. And then we also have a couple of new environmental health services employees, Erin Myers and Laura Clapham. And I'd like to ask Erin Dixon if she could do an introduction.
Good afternoon. I'm really excited to introduce Lauren here with us. Erin unfortunately could not join us this afternoon, and Lauren snuck right in with like 3 minutes to spare coming back from IBD inspection. So I'm excited that she was actually able to make it today. Lauren has lived in Washoe County for the last 10 years. She attended the University of Nevada, Reno, and has her bachelor's degree in biology. And she is joining the health district as an environmental health specialist trainee. She and Erin both started on September 12th, and we are ecstatic to have them on board.
All right, thank you. We also have some promotions that we want to recognize. Matthew McCarthy in air quality. There you are. Stand up. He's been promoted from AQM specialist trainee to AQM specialist. So congratulations, Matt. And Candace Brown, I believe, is also there in the back row. There we go. Promoted from AQM specialist trainee to AQM specialist. So congratulations to both of them. We have also Tasha Pascal, who is not able to join us today. Who's been promoted from public health nurse 2 to senior public health nurse, and Kaylee Barrett, also promoted from public health nurse 2 to senior public health nurse in CCHS. So congratulations to them. We have several retirements. Yenling Barnes, environmental engineer 2 with air quality, retired August 13th with 21 years of service at the health district, and Maricela Caballera also retired August 24th with 25 years of service. I don't believe that Maricela is here. Yen could not make it, but we do have Nicole Mertz, public health nurse 2. Congratulations, Nicole, who is going to be retiring October 7th. And we do have something which I'll present to her when we do the pictures, but a small token of our appreciation for her 30-plus years of service from June 8th of 1992 to October 7th of 2022. So thank you very much for your service, Ms. Mertz, and best wishes for you in your retirement. And then I also would like to recognize our chair, Oscar Delgado, who was recognized with receiving the Healthcare Hero Award for Northern Nevada not-for-profit from the Nevada Business Magazine. So congratulations, Chair Delgado.
So, thank you. Before we do that, let's give a round of applause to all of our new hires and promotions and retirees. Thank you, congratulations. Thank you for joining the team. Yes, let's go down into the hole for some pictures.
Anyway.
You see that? When you retire, we want hugs.
Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to note that Dr. Clarke signed on at 1:14.
great. Good to see you, Dr. Clarke, and thanks for joining us. With that one, item 4, move on to item 5, public comment. Susie, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one registered public comment. I'd like to read a statement.
Okay.
All public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person and should be addressed to the Board of Health as a whole, not an individual. With the exception of the public comment agenda items, comments will be heard for items labeled for possible action and should be specific to the item being considered by the board. The District Board of Health conducts the business of Washoe County and its citizens during its meetings. The presiding officer may order the removal of any person whose statement or other conduct disrupts the orderly, efficient, or safe conduct of the meeting. Warnings against disruptive comments or behavior may or may not be given prior to removal. The viewpoint of a speaker will not be restricted, but reasonable restrictions may be imposed upon the time, place, and manner of speech. Irrelevant and unduly repetitious statements and personal attacks which antagonize or incite others are examples of speech that may be reasonably limited. Megan Marble is your speaker.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Megan Marble, and I'm the owner of Desert Peak Therapies. We are a new speech and occupational therapy clinic here in Reno, located up in Collin Ranch area. We opened in June and have hardly been able to see any clients because of the extensive health insurance issues we are facing. To put that into numbers, we've been able to schedule 3 clients out of 30 phone calls in the last month alone. There are significant barriers to care for everyone right now, understand that, but especially those who rely on private health insurance. Additionally, we have a vital asset in this community closing permanently at the end of October, which will greatly impact services available to our adult and geriatric populations specifically. The hurdles we are facing here with the health insurance companies are making it nearly impossible to provide services to those most in need. I'm here today to ask for your help in finding a solution that will allow us to provide care for this community in a more timely manner. It's nice to see you, Mr. Dare. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us earlier this week.
Thank you for that comment. We can't have a conversation due to open meeting law.
That would be wonderful.
So we could probably schedule something offline.
Okay.
I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Perfect. I would love to share that with you.
Okay.
Should I leave some business cards here for
Jeff,
you?
yeah, if you can leave up here.
Yep, perfect.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate you.
There's no more registered public comment.
Okay. With that, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to item 6, COVID-19 monkeypox update. District Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. For COVID-19, our community impact level is at low, and our 7-day average of reported cases is at 25.6. Our patients hospitalized per 100,000 over the last 7 days are at 4.6, and our percent of inpatient beds used for COVID-19 patients is at 2.3%. Our wastewater concentrations remain at low levels. So CDC will be updating the community levels later today, but we expect to stay at low. The bivalent vaccine is now available, and that vaccine contains Omicron BA4 and BA5 spike protein information, in addition to the mRNA from the original strain of COVID-19. Since the BA5 is currently the dominant strain that's circulating, the protections from this vaccine are expected to be much improved and should elicit a more robust immune response to new variants. So this is, I think, a significant step forward that we now have a bivalent vaccine. We're encouraging everyone to receive the bivalent booster when they're eligible, and that is, it's available for those 12 and older who have completed their last vaccination series or booster 2 or more months ago. We've seen an increase in vaccinations countywide since the bivalent vaccine became available. 8,712 doses of vaccine were administered over the last 2 weeks, of which over 8,000 doses were boosters. And that's a 734% increase in boosters being provided over the boosters that were provided over the previous 2-week period. So we do have interest and people are getting vaccinated. It's interesting, the vaccines are widely available in the community, and people seem to be seeking them primarily through other locations than the health district. So recently, we've been administering about 10% of the COVID vaccinations countywide, but for the last 2-week period, that fell to only about 3.7% of vaccines that have been administered countywide, and that's really what we want to see is our healthcare system, our pharmacies, providing those vaccines in our community. Currently, 63.32% of the population is fully vaccinated, and 71.5% have initiated vaccinations. We continue to provide COVID-19 vaccinations weekdays in our clinic and our community pods. This afternoon, we'll be at the Reno Sparks Convention Center, and Saturday morning at the Boys and Girls Club on Foster Drive. We have a drive-through COVID-19 and flu shot pod that's scheduled for Saturday morning, October 1st. And we continue to conduct drive-through COVID-19 testing on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings. Councilman Dare will be happy to know that the requirement for conducting the SB4 COVID-19 inspections at resort facilities sunsetted on August 31st. And I noted in my report that we received 14-day notice of terminations of the interlocal agreement for joint incident command and coordinated response to COVID-19 from Washoe County on August 23rd and from Sparks on August 25th. And I provided notification of our termination of the agreement to the cities in the county on September 16th. So that was a great partnership and working together as a region in the response to COVID-19. But at this point, we don't feel that there's any need for that agreement moving forward. And we've incorporated our activities into our ongoing operations. For monkeypox, our case count is at 18. None of our cases have been hospitalized. Monkeypox has been detected in wastewater with wastewater sampling and analysis that UNR does. The TPOX treatment is available for people that are diagnosed with monkeypox, and we're providing pre-exposure prophylactic vaccinations, the PEP++, it's being called, and we've had those vaccination events and we'll be back for second doses at our center on October 5th and Faces Nevada on October 11th. So that concludes my update. I don't know if Dr. Denko has anything she'd like to add to that.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for District Health Officer from the board regarding item 6? Seeing none, thank you for that report. We'll close item 6 and move on to item 7, consent items. Are there any items that would like to be pulled by the board? Seeing none, Dr. Danko or Clarke, anything you'd like to pull?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, can I have a motion, please, on accepting consent items?
I move to approve consent items A through F.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for any public comment. Is there any public comment on consent?
No public comment.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Please vote on your iPads too, if you wouldn't mind. Okay. Moving on to item 8, Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority, 8A. Mr. Barry, how you doing, sir? Come on down.
Good afternoon, Chairman Delgado and members of the board. I'm Barry Duplantis for the record. You've all received a copy of Remsa's August franchise compliance report for review. I'd like to highlight that for the month of August, Remsa was compliant in priority one, with priority one calls in Zone A at 91%, and priority one in zones B, C, and D also being 91%. Remsa continues to focus on meeting its compliance obligations to its franchise, and we continue to recruit and hire additional EMTs, AEMTs, and paramedics to serve our community. I'll address this a little bit more in the next section when we talk about 8B in the agenda. Remsa currently employs 160 clinical employees who service ground ambulance calls. As noted in our report, during the month of August 2022, Remsa responded to 8,177 calls, of which 4,082 of those calls required transportation to area hospitals. That number is largely in keeping with the same volume that I reported to you last month. We continue to experience year-over-year growth in the demand for 911 EMS services. And lastly, with regard to the report, I'd like to comment. We talked a little bit in the past about the EMS survey. We send out over 4,000 surveys per month. And in the month of August, we received only 71 responses. As we've discussed before, in fact, I'll even point out, with regard to the responses we did receive, 78% of those were 55 years of age and older. So we're concerned that we're not getting as much feedback as we would like. And when the feedback is that spotty, it's very difficult to really assess how the entire community that receives services from Remsa feel about the services. That said, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have in the report that was provided to you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Duplantis? See none. Look for a motion to accept report. Motion, second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Aye.
Duplantis. Item 8B. Oh, sorry. Is there a public comment on 8A?
There is no public comment.
No. Thank you for asking. Item 8B. Vote. Sorry, we're going too quick. Our vice chair's kicking me to go faster. Just kicking me to go fast. Come on. Sabrina, come on down. Item 8B. Thank you. Yes, we voted. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sabrina Braswell, for the record, EMS Coordinator for the Washoe County EMS Oversight Program. Good afternoon, Chair Delgado and members of the board. I'd like to add to the standing agenda items an opportunity for Remsa to speak formally to the items in the corrective action plan response. So the intent of this item is to provide a verbal forum for Remsa to speak specifically to the items, and as they're addressed or as they become non-applicable, they'd be removed from this. There's a basic outline that allows Barry to have some communication starting points, and with that, I'll hand it over to Barry Duplantis of Remsa Health.
Okay.
Again, I'm Barry Duplantis for the record. I'd like to comment on the progress that we've made to address some of the concerns that were raised over the last few meetings that we've had. As noted in my report just a moment ago, the demand for EMS services has really been strong in our community. Overall, year over year, about 7% higher. That said, a couple things that, or I should say a handful of things that we've done, and I will really just highlight them because in our report, we really divided these up with immediate items, short-term, and then longer-term items. And all of these are at different degrees of progress, but I certainly would like to give you an insight of some of the things that we are doing right now to address the issue, and everything that we're working on is at various phases. But that said, we have increased our ALS shift lines from 62 to 71. We've increased our ILS shift lines from 5 to 9, and we've increased our BLS shift lines from 5 to 8, effective September 11, 2022. We've also reassigned our community paramedics to ALS shift lines. We've also sent out notice to all of our clinically qualified workers, be it education or office assignments. We've asked everyone to essentially be all hands on deck to support our 911 system. We've also added PTO incentives to encourage people to pick up shifts even on their days off to help augment the system. We're currently in a seasonally busy part of the year, so I do envision that at some point, as we start cooling off in terms of the climate, that and special events start to subside, that we may see some relief. At least we hope so. The other thing that we have done, and we've had some, let me candidly say, some great reception, is we've been reaching out to all of our local fire agencies, asking for their help with their clinically qualified workers to help pick up per diem shifts. And we've received tremendous enthusiasm, I should say. In fact, we've got one that's on the road today. And now I would like to be able to say that it's as simple as make a call and put them in an ambulance. But there are processes that we have to go through to acclimate everyone, getting them experienced or comfortable with our charting system, et cetera. But we have reached out to the area fire service, our local fire services, to ask for their help, and they have been very, very receptive, and we certainly appreciate that. Additionally, there are a couple of other things that we have done that I want to emphasize, and it's we've restarted our employee engagement meetings where we're trying to engage our employees, because quite candidly, when you start looking at things like exit interviews, well, that's a little too late because a person's already made up their mind to leave the company if they're doing an exit interview. We prefer to look at it and think of it as we do now as retention interviews. What do we do to keep people satisfied? And then of the people that have left the company, because we have lost some people in the last, since we talked last, it's a normal environment where people do come into EMS and they choose to do other things. Of the folks that have left in the last month, I can candidly say that the reasons are all over the board. It's from returning to school, it's leaving healthcare altogether, and interestingly enough, only 2 of those that have left have actually gone to fire service. So they're leaving for a multitude of reasons, and I think that's pretty indicative of all of healthcare at this point, where people are starting to kind of do inward search and try to understand what's their role in life and where do they want to contribute. And then lastly, I would like to say that we continue to participate very enthusiastically in the regionalization project that's been approved concurrently by all 3 jurisdictions. And our goal at Remsa, quite candidly, is to be the best place to work. We want people to enjoy their work experience at Remsa and not want to leave. So that is a little bit of what we're doing to focus on raising the bar on the timeliness of response and the quality of response, and encouraging people to stay with the company as opposed to leaving.
Great. Thank you for that report. Comments from the board? Councilman.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I say it to all Remsa. I mean, as you guys step forward, a lot of these things are definitely thinking outside the box, definitely changing a few approaches that have been there in the past. Not that that wasn't the heart motive to be there, but I think it's fantastic. And I do think the idea of you guys finding more and more ways to work together with fire service and tag teaming and working is always going to go far better than some of the things we've seen. So it's fantastic. So great job, and looking forward to seeing what else comes out of this. So good job.
Thank you.
Further comments from the board? Any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment, Chair.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Duplantis and Serena, appreciate both of you. This item is really an opportunity to show transparency in terms of compliance and corrective actions. This is what this is all about. So appreciate the candidacy. Appreciate all the hard work, Barry. I've already heard the morale, the turnover, the open-mindedness. So thank you for your leadership over there. Thank you, and thank you to your team. With that, I'll take a motion, please, on item 8B.
So moved.
A motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8C, PR update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alexia Jobson, Director of Public Relations for Remsa Health for the record. You have for your review the Public Relations report for August, and I can share a few more recent updates with you now. Remsa Health was included on a podcast along with Richmond Ambulance Authority and Pro EMS from Cambridge, Massachusetts, discussing how EMS agencies can share important information and messages through strong media relationships. This aired earlier this month. Interim CEO Barry Duplantis spoke to Sparks Centennial Rotary. After a brief formal presentation, he answered questions from attendees about operations, recruitment, and retention, and our partnerships with co-response agencies. Education manager and paramedic Jenny Walters provided media interviews about the health impacts of wildfire smoke and how residents can take care of themselves. And finally, recently, 2 of Remsa Health's leaders and 1 of its medical directors were selected to present a total of 4 sessions at the American Ambulance Association's annual conference. The event brings together more than 600 leaders, thinkers, and change makers from ambulance services across the country to address important topics and galvanize around the industry's legislative agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, thank you. It's not an action item, so we don't have to vote on this one. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great report. We'll move on to item 8D. Sabrina, that's you.
Hello again, Sabrina Braswell for the record, EMS coordinator. I wanted to take a moment to open up to any questions previous to going through a few of the details of this. For informative purposes, the appointments to the Remsa Health Board of Directors are all 4-year terms of service, and the applications are attached in the additional agenda items. And for easy visibility, the positions open and available for either appointment or reappointment based on the program motions that you'll see at the end are the accounting representative, the consumer representative, and the legal representative. I do have the appointment applicant for the consumer representative, Reverend Deborah A. Whitlock-Lax, present if you have any questions for her. I also invited the other program motion candidates applicants. I'm not sure if one of them has joined us. Cora Case told me that she potentially could be here. That's the applicant for the accounting position. And Louis Test for the reappointment of the legal position was also invited. I'm not sure if he's able to attend either. Are there any questions that the program can answer?
Yeah, thank you, and my apologies for missing last meeting. I know this is very important and appreciate your guys' hard work on rectifying and getting into compliance our appointments to the Remsa board. This is a very important board.
The only thing I would say to that being tabled was that the only changes to the staff report were to change the periods of appointment to represent today as the start of the appointment as compared to the previous agendized date.
Gotcha. Now I'm looking forward to, and before we kick it off, any public comment on this one before I forget?
No public comment.
Thank you. Diving into it a little bit more, as I understand, and Barry, great to see, that you're close by, is this is a significant, in many different ways, as we are in huge regional conversations, whether it's transport, dispatch, or CAD, and thank you to everyone that's been sitting at the table and having these hard discussions. It's very, very vital and important. Any questions from the board with respect to, and I thank you to our staff that have went through the process. We know as it is advisory, ultimately it comes to us, that we have the final kind of ideas and thoughts. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts up here. Yes, Vice Chair.
Chairman, thank you. First off, I want to thank once again all of those individuals that applied for either reappointment or for new appointments to the Remsa board. As the chair pointed out, this is a very important board that represents a very large portion of our community as it pertains to public safety and EMS. And as the chair pointed out, as we're going through these major discussions and potential changes within our region to address the needs of the community from a health emergency standpoint, I believe that when we look at this to appoint members to these boards, appointments are very serious. We need to take them very serious and make sure that the individuals that we select for these boards have a wide breadth of knowledge, not only of the community, but also of what Remsa represents and the business aspects and all the operation standpoints that Remsa has come to have in the history of Remsa, but also going into the future and what those changes will look like. And from my standpoint, looking at all of the applicants for the consumer representative, I feel that there are a whole breadth of individuals that offer quite a bit, depth of understanding. But from my standpoint, at least from the consumer representative, and then I appreciate staff's recommendation, I do feel that one applicant does stand out amongst the rest for me, and that is Mr. Michael Pani. He has had a history with Remsa and has served with Remsa for in a legal capacity and also from a consulting capacity in years past during the deconsolidation of fire services and some of the challenges throughout the years. And so he has that historic knowledge that I feel will be paramount moving forward into the next evolution of what Remsa will be like. And so I would, and this is not pejorative in any way of the qualifications of anybody else that had applied, but this is, I feel very confident and I feel very strongly about this because we have the chair and I and Councilman Dare have had a number of conversations about regionalization and how that looks like and the challenges that we're going to see upcoming. So that would be my consideration, Chairman, for this board is that Mr. Pani be selected as that consumer representative for that seat. That would be my only change other than obviously the reappointments, but those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Very thoughtful. I have other, sounds like Chief Brown, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I echo Commissioner Lucy's thoughts. I want to say thank you to everybody who's applied for all the positions, but looking at what we're going through right now and where we're going to be in the future, it's moving fast. And with that, I think that breadth of knowledge that Mr. Pani brings and his history in this area, plus with the Remsa, as well as the other agencies in the area. I know I worked very closely with him for many years, and I always appreciated what he brought forward when it came to looking at the entire system and inclusion of the entire system. And so, again, I want to thank everybody who's put in for these positions because I know it takes quite the dedication and the know-how of what you're getting yourselves into. And I know Mr. Pani has that. And so I just echo it. I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Lucy, because I think that he would represent that position in a manner that would speed things up. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brown. We'll go to Dr. Novak and then go to Councilman Dare.
I just want to echo the same thing. I feel like he is the one person right now that's applying that has some unique experiences that is going to be tried, true, and needed over the next couple months or years with the major changes we're looking into making. So I want to echo the same thing and definitely thank everybody else that's applied. Don't want to discourage you, but this is a very unique situation as far as I'm concerned too.
Thank you, Dr. Novak. Chair Dare, Councilman Dare.
Yeah, first I'd like to say that I personally know Reverend Whitlock, and she's pretty fantastic and has been doing great things in the community. With that said, I will speak out loud, and I'm glad she's here to hear this. I'm going to agree that Mr. Pane, and here's the key to this, is not just his experience, but his relationship with all of us. He served on many boards in the sense of our lawyer and different things, and it's important on this particular conversation. I think as a city of Sparks, we would be much more comfortable knowing that he's in that room. Just I'm glad he signed up. And with that said, I don't question that Reverend and Deb, you do, I'm sure, a great job. It's just, with that said, please keep coming to these boards, stay involved, because I think you have a very important place in that, and you're serving our community well. But I'll agree. And with that said, I can make a motion, or you can make a motion. It doesn't matter to me. but I'd move for Michael Pane to be chosen.
Should I look at legal? Can we do all three at once, or are we looking to do one per?
Mr. Chair, I think it's appropriate to do them all at once. If there seems to be a consensus, which there does, just remember we have to ask for public comment. Thank you.
I think I asked for it up front. Sure, but again, I'll ask.
There is no public comment.
No public. Okay, we'll close public comment. So we'll move to. Sounds like Councilman Dare, do you had a motion on the table?
Sure. Let me read. Should I just read the recommendation?
I was going to say there is a recommendation that respects the board's ultimate decision for applicant and
Looks like
decision.
Vice Chair
Chairman,
has the language.
I'm happy to follow the motion that we have drafted within the staff report. I'd make a motion to appoint Cora Case as the accounting representative to a 4-year term beginning on September 22nd, 2022 and ending on September 21st, 2026. Appoint Michael Pane to the position of the consumer representative for a 4-year term beginning September 22nd, 2022, ending September 21st, 2026, and reappoint Mr. Louis Test for legal representation, or legal representative, for a 4-year term beginning on September 22nd, 2022, and ending on September 21st, 2026, to the Remsa Board of Directors.
I have a motion on the table. I have a second for the discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Please vote on your monitor. And as before we leave, jump onto the other item, all those that have applied, please consider applying for our other boards and commissions, whether it's with the Health District or the City of Reno, Sparks, and I'm sure the county as well. We're always looking to fill those positions with honest, good, hardworking constituents. And so thank you to all those that have applied.
Dr. Clarke, can we get your vote, please?
That's an aye.
Dr. Denko?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll close item 8. We'll move on to item 9, review and approval of the environmental health specialist position. Ms. Dix.
Good afternoon. For the record, Erin Dixon with Washoe County Health District. The item before you is to convert, what Environmental Health Services did is we had a licensed engineer that resigned earlier this year, right after our budget season was over. And so what our division did is we did a full analysis of our divisional needs. And it was determined that the licensed engineer activities could be met with a MOU with CSD, and that those other duties that needed a little bit more flexibility could be met with environmental health specialists. Now, due to the amount of work that we now have coming in, we were asking for 2 environmental health specialists. We have already submitted the paperwork to convert the licensed engineer position to an environmental health specialist, and it was actually has gone to the county's JEC and approved through that process. But what we're looking for is your approval to take the remaining salary savings and additional revenue and add in that remaining registered environmental health specialist position. The work duties are not new. However, they've been increasing at a level, and in the EHS divisional update, you'll also see this as well, which really has overwhelmed our team, really. Plan reviews have exceeded previous year numbers for all but I believe 1 month of this calendar year. And actually, I was just told that as of today, which I believe is the 22nd, we have reached our top September plan reviews ever. So.
Wow.
We
need some help.
Yeah, we need a little bit of help. So there are a few bullets in there on what these positions would be doing, and really helping us reduce the delay time. You know, we're sitting right around 14 to 18 business days on initial review, but we have a lot that are going into revisions as well. Alleviate the need for some overtime, and really we have a supervisor that has really taken on a a large burden of this and is working extensive hours, and that's not sustainable, given the fact that this individual is supposed to be a supervisor and meet some of those other needs. The salary savings from the conversion of the licensed engineer to an environmental health specialist totaled $34,385. So we are proposing to take that and the additional funding at the top of the range position, which is approximately $87,000. That would come from the increased revenue that's not budgeted but is anticipated. For fiscal year '22, the charges for services in EHS came in at approximately $250,000 above the planned budget. And this category includes all of our plan reviews, our engineering services, and some inspections. So we do feel that we have the revenue to cover that position.
Great. Public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Just so I say thank you, Ms. Dixon. It's always good to come with ideas on how we can spur along permitting processes and keep the community moving on track. Can I get a motion, please, on item 9?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item 10. How's it going? Annual performance conversation is...
Good afternoon, Board. Lori Griffey for the records. We are here seeking your approval to do this year's evaluation for Mr. Dick. His evaluation is due October 24th, so if we can get this started and get it done, you can do it in October, right around his due date. In your packet, you have all the questions, which are the same ones we used last year, and they're also the same ones that were used for the county manager's evaluation. And you also have a list of participants. If you want to add somebody, we're happy to add additional names to that, but it looks like a pretty conclusive list at this point. If you could please just look it over and let us know if you have your approval to start this evaluation.
Great. Any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. Questions from the board? No, I looked at the list. It's up in front of me again. I think it's a good list. I appreciate the how it was conducted last year with the 360 review. It's great to hear from outside. So, can I get a motion on item 10, please?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Griffey.
so much.
Item 11A. Air
Sorry,
quality.
Chair. I just need to hear Dr. Clarke and Dr. Dinkel's vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Mr. Vega, come on down.
Thank you, Chair Delgado, members of the board. For the record, Francisco Vega, Director of the Air Quality Management Division. In my report, I did highlight a few things, specifically the benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act and the funding that's going towards public health, climate change, and air quality issues. The other one was the adoption by California of Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulations. And the reason that's important is, again, California is the only state besides the federal government that can set vehicle standards or requirements. So what this allows us to do as a state here in Nevada is to also adopt those regulations as well. So anyways, I wanted to put that information in my report, and I think with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
This is just a report. We don't have to vote on, but any questions for Mr. Vega? Yes, Dr. Novak.
What's our standing right now with EPA after our last big smoke incident?
I guess in what perspective, Dr. Novak?
Well, because we've always, the last 4 or 5 years, sat right on the edge of compliance with the EPA, and we had a pretty significant smoke, incident the last couple of weeks. Are we far enough for the year through this process that we're going to be okay, or are we still sitting right 1/10 of 1% again?
Yeah, excellent question. We actually won't know the total impact of the wildfire smoke on our air quality and where we stand with the standards until after the calendar year. What I can say is that we did on several days exceed the EPA standards. But again, the calculation of exactly where and if you're complying with the standard is an average over 3 years. And again, there's a lot of mathematics that go into it. But again, excellent question. And what I can say is, again, that during the times that you're speaking of, we were exceeding the standards and the air wasn't healthy.
Chairman.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Vega, thank you. Obviously, you have been very helpful to me and my staff over the last couple of weeks. We do appreciate your assistance and your staff's assistance, not only with the pit out in Double Diamond, but also one of the questions that I have for you to kind of dovetail off of Dr. Novak, some questions that I've received from constituents is there any recourse that we have, and Commissioner Jung has also mentioned this a number of times, do we have any legal recourse with the BLM or U.S. Forest Service in regards to their response to wildfire or the state of California as it pertains to our air quality and the impact that it has not only to our entire basin and our region, but to the school children and the impact that it has economically for the school district not being able to open up schools. Have we looked into that? That question has been posed to me a number of times by constituents, and I don't really have an answer for them, and I wanted to bring that up on the and since Dr. Novak brought that forward, I wanted to ask you here on the dais if there's some possibility to that.
So if I understand the question correctly, it's what is our role as an air quality agency on what BLM does?
Yes.
And other agencies?
As it pertains to the EPA, as he brought forward, we have a certain standard we maintain for our air quality standards. Do we have any recourse that we could join with the EPA in some sort of a joint complaint with them to file against the BLM or, due to that air quality potentially caused by wildfires, whether they're unnaturally caused or naturally caused, after the investigations of those fires have been done?
Yeah, excellent question. In regards to recourse, I'm not sure if I can answer that question, to be honest with you. What I can say is that when we do have wildfire events that are impacting our air quality, and when it comes to demonstrating compliance with EPA standards, there is an opportunity to do what's called exceptional events demonstrations, which then removes that data from our demonstration in compliance with those standards. So while we're still impacted by the smoke, it doesn't put us in jeopardy of compliance with the standards.
Okay. And the only reason I ask is that very often in times of natural emergencies, we have the ability to work with FEMA on financial recourses that are caused by extreme hours that are caused to the agency of monitoring, putting out notifications, those types of recourses, and which are all costly to the health district and to the region in regards to staffing and outreach to the community. And I didn't know if those same types of recourses that we have through FEMA that we may have through the EPA as well to address some of those concerns financially for those reasons that they impact our region.
Yeah, again, excellent question. I don't know if there is any kind of legal recourse that we have. The only part I want to add is that we are proactive in working with like the BLM and communicating to whoever will listen that there is a need for more resources in forest management, reducing fuels, prescribed burning, things like that. So we're trying to be proactive in that regard. But to answer your question in regards to like legal recourse, I don't have an answer.
I'll sidebar that at some another time with the district attorney to have further conversations about that. Thank you.
Yep.
Chair?
Yes, Councilor.
Just on that note, and one of the things that I don't think we've ever done before, but I think this is happening every year at this point, and so it would be definitely something we'd get our attorneys involved with. But I think there might be a wisdom in investigating if there's other air qualities that at least can write and share that we are seeing this. So as we stack this together, even if it's not a one-year gig and they don't jump on it, but we have a track record of showing, look what you're doing to us, to our kids, to our livelihood. And instead of being like, well, it's a fire, we can't do anything, but there's a responsibility they have to have. So I could, if we could maybe bring that back, maybe we can have a conversation just with our attorney about some of that.
Yes, Dr. Noah.
You brought up an interesting point about possibly the extra hours getting FEMA to compensate some of that. Have we ever looked into that?
As far as extra time?
Overtime that's put in on these unusual events, that, can we, get some compensation through FEMA and other agencies for the amount of time it's cost us to do this?
Right. Excellent question. I think at this point, again, our role during wildfire season is really just to collect the data and distribute information on how the public can protect themselves. So in that regard, we're able to account for that time because it is part of our job. Again,
Are we exceeding the normal amount of time we're putting in when we have these incidents, or are we basically pretty well working it in with our own number of hours?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I think we're kind of veering off the subject since this is environmental health, right? Does that move into air quality, some of the areas you're talking about? And I'm also concerned as more and more people keep talking about suing California or the United States that we are moving into deliberation, so that would be unagendized. I would suggest if you want to look at possible remedies for maybe pollution from wildfires, that either you speak directly with your staff attorneys or set it for an agenda item. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Dr. Novak.
I appreciate legal jumping in, keeping us grounded. Yeah, it sounds like there's an opportunity for us as our future agenda items to come to give guidance to Mr. Vega or District Health Officer to come back on what other jurisdictions are doing in terms of recourse opportunities. Yeah. So with that, any further questions regarding the current report that Mr. Vega has presented to us? Seeing none, we'll close item A. Thank you. Item B, Community and Clinical Health Services.
Afternoon again, Lisa Lottridge, Division Director for Community and Clinical Health Services. Just a couple of additions, updates for CCHS. We are doing our mental health first aid next week. All staff are participating, so this is going to be our training day. We do that every year, so it'll be an all-day training for mental health first aid. So we're excited about that. The annual TB cohort is coming up on October 20th, and the team will, all of Northern Nevada participates, so Carson City, the state lab, the state health division, but we review our 2021 cases. So we go through each of those cases, what could we have done differently, just the outcomes of those cases. And because a case takes so long to finalize, that's why it's like a year later. So we'll be reviewing 2021. And then finally, just before this meeting, found out that Jen Howe will be participating on a NACHO webinar, the White House Monkeypox Update and Listening Session. And she will be joining New Orleans and Washington, D.C. to provide a local health department update on monkeypox. So that's exciting. And she'll do a great job. She was instrumental in the partnerships for our vaccine, getting that vaccine out to the community. So, and that's all I have, but happy to answer any questions.
Questions regarding this report from Ms. Lottridge?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, Environmental Health Services.
Good afternoon. Again, for the record, Erin Dixon, Environmental Health Services. Just a few items I want to highlight. You do have a small update on our commercial development program. There's a few things I want to highlight in there. While we are seeing an uptick in all areas of construction, there's one sector that we're not seeing an uptick in, and that's childcares. And that's just, we know that's an area that our community desperately needs, and we are not seeing that in the construction area. In addition, we are also starting to see an increase in construction that is for remodels and different types of things for our permanent facilities that don't have plans submitted. And so that is very difficult for us. When we find facilities with unapproved modifications, it takes substantially more work than if they were done through the plan review process. A few other items to highlight. The food safety team is working to increase awareness and participation in the Excellence in Food Safety Awards. We have designed an advertisement in Edible Reno Tahoe, and I'll make sure that a picture of that is included in our next report. We just wrapped up the Best of the West Rib Cook-Off. We issued 70 temporary food permits and conducted over 300 inspections over the course of the 5 days. Most of those occur very early in the morning or very late at night, just due to the cooling and reheating of the food. We do not conduct those inspections for any other event in Washoe County because no other event includes the cooling and reheating of food at this time. Our septic and well plan reviews or inspections are staying steady. That's a little unusual, just due to the time of the year. And I think that's it. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Dixon's report? Councilman Dare and then Dr. Novak.
First, I want to know how many ribs out of the 300 visits. Actually, I just want to say thank you. I know that whenever we do these events, that's a lift for our staff here. And I think they're important to do them, and they're great for the thing, but people don't realize all the work goes behind it. So please tell your staff thank you.
Absolutely, will do.
Were you involved in the testing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I ate 300 ribs.
Dr. Novak, did you have a question for Ms. Dixon?
How many hours inspection time is involved in just like the rib cook-off?
I have the actual number back in my office that I can get for you. I'm afraid if I say it off the top of my head, well, you got to think most morning inspections are 2 hours. They involve between 2 to 4 people. Then we have the daytime inspection and the evening inspection. I'm a little nervous to ask, but I'll absolutely send it to you.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Yes, District Health Officer.
I can recall being briefed on this.
Oh,
I
thank
can't
you.
give you the exact number, but it's over 90 hours and just a few days ago in, but I'm sure Ms. Dixon will get us the precise number.
Thank you.
Quick question. Do we know more or less reasons why child care facilities aren't as there? Have you heard from current providers in terms of is it tough? Is it overbearing? Or is it different? Is it?
I don't have the answer to that, but I can absolutely have the inspectors, ask.
I know our
around.
vice chair has been pretty involved in trying to find ways, and I don't know if that's an opportunity for us to do some community outreach to hear directly from them on how we can maybe find ways that we could have more in our communities. I know it's a huge need. But yes, Vice Chair.
Chairman, just for your edification, one of the big challenges that I've heard, both through Human Services and some of the local providers, is that even though there are willing individuals to expand childcare facilities, the lack of property and construction costs currently are prohibitive to that. And then secondly, staffing seems to continue to be a severe challenge for early education individuals that are in the area and available to work. So it's kind of a multi-tiered issue, but that is one of the big challenges that we've heard.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any further questions for Ms. Dixon? See none. Thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Item D, Dr. Dow.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is Nancy Dow, Division Director of Epidemiology and Public Health Preparedness. You have my report. I actually don't have anything to change or add, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board for Dr. Dow? See none. Thank you, Dr. Dow. Appreciate it. Accept your report. Moving on to item E, District Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. Just wanted to highlight a few things in my report. We've kicked off our community health improvement plan development so that the steering committee has met for the first time September 15th, And next Friday, we will be hosting a community health improvement forum at the Reno Sparks Convention Center. And at that forum, we'll be presenting the results from our community health assessment and engaging the participants in discussion around what should be prioritized in the community health improvement plan. And I'm pleased to report that we've filled that event with capacity, 200 people attending, so we're pleased to see that. Dr. Clarke had requested information about the Nevada rollout of the 988 Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and I attached what I thought was a pretty good article from the Nevada Current about that. They indicated a 30% increase in calls that they were receiving at the crisis call center after the 988 implementation. But I think what was also good about this article was that it addressed the whole crisis response system, which that 988 line is one piece of, and that the issues that we have with lacking the full spectrum of services for crisis response. And I think that highlights also the importance of the work that we've been engaged with Julia Ratty, leading the development of implementation plans and implementation of crisis response services so that we have those other components in our system. And then lastly, also wanted to mention that and thank board members that have responded to a doodle poll that we put out for our strategic planning retreat. We did have a conflict on the date of November 17th that we had intended to hold that meeting. And so I'm hoping we'll provide that information in the next day or so as far as the new date. But thanks to those for responding to the doodle poll. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions for the district health officer? See none from the board. Going once, going twice. Closing. Thank you. We'll move on to item 12. Board comments, any updates, any requests?
Chairman, if we can, based upon the conversation with Mr. Vega, if we can bring back an item in regards, after speaking with legal counsel, in regards to potential recovery from those events that cause fires, that would be great.
Be enlightening. Thank you. Any further requests from the board? So we'll close that. Now looking for adjournment. Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Aye.
Bye.